Hello and welcome back to Getaway Day. As always, I am Mason, he is Gautam, and today we are here to do a little bit of a grab bag. It is now mid-September, meaning we've got about 12, 13 games left of the season. Does that sound about right?
Yep, 2 weeks to go. So yeah, I think every team has 13 games left or 14.
I believe that is correct. So we're down, and I know we've been talking a little bit about the postseason races and kind of things come to close here a lot recently, but now we're starting to actually look forward to the postseason itself, more than just the races that are still going on. And some of these teams that have basically locked up their spots, we're starting to hear a little bit of news about some of the players who may or may not be available in the postseason, a couple changes MLB's making, things like that. So we wanted to take today, kind of go through a bit of that and see if we could break down some of these bits of recent news. So I guess before we get into that, Gautam, how you doing? What's up?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to these last 2 weeks. I think it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a strong postseason field. It doesn't seem like any bad team is going to just sneak in like people are worried about with expanded playoffs. I think this is like teams are solid.
I am worried that there will be a bad team that sneaks in.
The Cubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be really tough for them to sneak in, but it could happen. Technically, the Cubs and the Cardinals are both not out of it.
They probably each need to go like 11-1 or something.
Pretty
Something
much.
like that. Yeah.
I mean, the Cubs are 6 out, the Cardinals are 7.5 out, and that's just from the last wild card spot. So, but anyway, we do have some news from the offices of the commissioner that in the postseason this year, we're going to have a first. And it is a first, and it's not a first. It's not a first in the sense that MLB is basically going for a big money grab that's going to really piss some people off, including myself. It's going to look horrible, and it benefits nobody. And what I'm talking about here is that MLB has agreed with Strauss, which is a company that builds, quote, high performance work clothes, to put their logo on every single batting helmet in the postseason for all 12 teams. So,
well, I just gotta say, I really need some high performance work clothes. I think it'll really up my my game at work. So I think it's working. It's working already on all the MLB fans. Yeah.
and I love ostriches. So the really cartoony ostrich logo that's going to be on there, it sold me for minute one. So
No,
I'm
I
in.
mean, all kidding aside, though, this is it's just one money grab after another by the league to just insult the fans and go after every last penny that they can. And I mean, like, what's the point of this? Really, it's not gonna change. I don't feel like it's gonna be the biggest like benefit for the company themselves either, and it's not really serving the fans.
Yeah, no, it's a disservice to the fans. There's literally no benefit to the fans. The only thing is that they have yet another advertisement put in front of their eyes. It doesn't necessarily benefit anybody. Like it's there. It might encourage you to go and look up the company if you've never heard of them, and potentially you'll buy something. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's a service to the fans so much as it is a service to the owners and to Strauss, to get their name out there. But like there's a lot of other ways you could increase profit in the MLB that are mutually beneficial to both the product, the fans, and the owners. This is not one of them. Like Tyler Kepner from the Athletic / New York Times, since they are now one and the same, he had an article here on, when did he post this? The 13th. So that would have been on Friday. He released an article on The Athletic. And the commissioner's office, in their press release, used the word adorn. The logo is going to adorn the helmets. And that kind of implies something that is not the case. Like, adorn is a positive word, implying beauty, implying all this stuff. It's the ugliest looking thing I've seen. Honestly, it makes me not hate the sleeve patches as much,
Yeah.
but still hate the sleeve patches. So
Yeah. It's just another thing that it's a definitely an annoyance. You kind of get used to it, but it's just
every time I
silly.
see the steeple patch on the Cardinals jerseys, I still get a little bit angry inside.
Yeah.
Like I haven't forgotten about it at this point. It's just annoying. I'm watching baseball. I don't want a money management company. That's not why I'm here. I spend a ridiculous amount of money at baseball games. I don't want you to tell me how to manage my money.
Yeah.
In fact, that's probably bad for you as a business.
I'm just totally disillusioned here, but there's ads everywhere else too. It's just another ad. It's not even changing anything for me. It's
Yeah.
There's a million ads everywhere that you look in a baseball game.
Yeah, but
There's another one on the jersey.
it's detracting from the little bit of classicness that we do still have in baseball, which is we have the uniforms, which are largely unchanged throughout history. I mean, yes, the design of the uniforms changes, teams can rebrand, do whatever, but like generally, uniforms are something that you take pride in. Like it's not like you have is it Barcelona that has the Fly Emirates for soccer?
Um, yeah, I think so.
But yeah, like nobody thinks about Barcelona and goes, "Oh, that classic Barcelona kit that's advertising for Emirates Airlines or whatever." Like that's not a thing. But like with baseball jerseys, the pinstripes are iconic. The Cardinals' birds on the bat, chain stitched onto the uniform, is iconic. The Cubs having one guy wear a different jersey because he didn't get the memo that day is iconic. Was that
It's not
Junior
like the Cubs
Lake?
have.
Was that Junior Lake?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. But like the helmets, they added 3D logos to them a couple years ago that really made them pop. That was a change. Some people thought it was stupid. Honestly, it looks nice, but then this just looks stupid. I don't get it. Like it's taking away from like the one thing that people are like, when I think of baseball, this is the image I have in my head. They don't think this is the image and it's a billboard.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It bothers me. That's not going to change how they deal with it. They don't care. So they just want millions and millions of dollars and whatever. The biggest thing for me is that they're doing it for the first time in the postseason. And the World Series is like the biggest TV event of the year for baseball. So yeah, there's going to be more eyes on it, but also that's where you're going to have non-standard baseball fans that are going to just roll with it because they're going to watch your product anyway. People are going to look at it and go, "That's ugly." And all the people who don't watch every day are going to see it for the first time. And I think there's going to be some loud voices here in October.
But I think what you're saying is that I think people are going to be upset about it, but it's not like there's anything that can be done. It's just
I mean, we're upset about
it,
the change to the Fanatics uniforms that are see-through and the letters are all sorts of screwed up and all that. And they finally, after months and months of complaining, decided to change it for next season. And there's a whole bunch of other things like that. But yeah, it feels like they they listen to a point, but it's only when people stop buying jerseys and stop buying things is whenever they will kind of go back and go, okay, maybe we need to go find our money elsewhere. Like
They're
they're
not really
gonna,
catering to the fans in any of their endeavors at all.
yeah, which is doing everybody a disservice. And I think at some point it might blow back. I don't know that this is the thing that's going to blow back, but at some point they're going to make a decision that will have some blowback.
Well, like Tyler says, the diehards are not changing their opinion. Like they're not changing their fandom. They're not really leaving the sport. But I think the effect is not going to be like this one big thing where they lose a bunch of fans, but it's just gonna slowly. They're gonna lose the casual fans maybe, and it's just not a not a good way to operate your business.
Yeah, no. So, with that being said, I am going to quit my fandom. This is now a football podcast. Caleb Williams tonight against the
Bear down.
Texans. Bear down. I actually am. Well, this is really a bull versus a bear. So, do we want a bull market that's going up or a bear market that's dragging us back down?
Bear down.
No, bull up. All right. Well, so the stupid ostrich logo. But that's not the only thing that could potentially be going on this postseason. And one of them would definitely get eyes back on the sport that they lose from people that go, I hate that. Like, and that would be that Shohei Ohtani is not 100% sure to be out of the rotation for the entirety of the postseason. The door is open ever so slightly. It's really more that like it just didn't fully latch. Like it's still shut. But my cat could probably force the door open. Shohei Ohtani does have a possibility of pitching in the postseason this year. It won't be 8 innings a game. It won't be a ton. It won't be the first game of the postseason. But he is far enough along in his rehab that if the Dodgers make a substantial run and run into some more issues with their rotation, because they did just lose Tyler Glasnow to an elbow sprain that is ending his season. He will miss the postseason. It's quite unfortunate, but the Dodgers have had a beast of a time keeping a rotation healthy this year. And so there is a world in which if Shohei's rehab continues to go well and he's able to do some simulated games and things like that, that he could pitch in a limited capacity in the postseason.
Yeah, and I texted you guys when Dave Roberts like said all this stuff that I've been waiting for this notification all season long because I literally have. I always just had this in the back of my mind. Oh, he's going to try to come back this year, just knowing the way he works at whatever he's doing. You know, this year where he didn't have to pitch, he even further dedicated himself to his offensive game, and seems like he's reached his like best season ever as a hitter.
Is it fair to say that this might not even be like his absolute best though? Like he might actually be able to do better than this if he kept focusing on just hitting.
Maybe, yeah.
Because like he's been focused on just hitting during games, but he has been going through an entire rehab this year. So he's still been split. And he's at 47 home runs and 48 stolen bases. Still definitely on pace for a 50-50 season, the first in history, after notching only the 6th 40-40 season in history and the second in 2 years.
Yeah, so I didn't hear what Dave Roberts said, but did he actually say that he would do limited starts, or did you say he could pitch at some point?
So
Basically,
here I've got the article pulled up. There's something that's a long-term play. We've still got a lot of work to get to October and through October. I hope that the playoffs are on his mind as far as motivation for his rehab, but the odds of it coming to pass are very slim, but they're not zero.
okay.
And then let's see who wrote this article. Fabian Ardaya then continued immediately after that quote with Ohtani threw his first bullpen session on October 24th, and there are still at least a couple more weeks until the Dodgers would even talk about Ohtani facing hitters in a simulated game. The original plan of having Ohtani shut down for the winter once the postseason began would go out the window, and even the chance of abbreviated outings would require a deep postseason run.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, yeah, they're going to need to be in the NLCS or the World Series for this to happen. And I could see him coming in for a 1 to 2 inning pocket of hitters and just doing it. Like it'll be so
Yeah.
cool to see. Yeah.
Yeah, like it kind of is the way that they're talking about it. And Mark Pryor said you never want to, or you never want to say never, but I do think it's probably for something like that to happen, we need to get far into the playoffs, which kind of is implying like if it happens, it's going to be in the World Series.
Yeah. That's what
Like
it feels like.
that's how deep they're going to have to get into it. It's going to be kind of like in 2016 when Kyle Schwarber came back and started. Was it the NLCS or was it the World Series?
It was just a World Series. And the crazy thing about Schwarber's was that at the beginning of that postseason run, it wasn't really on anybody's radar. Everyone wasn't thinking about Kyle Schwarber. They're thinking about the 16 team that had played together, that whole year. And then in the championship series, that's when we first heard, hey, Kyle Schwarber is like ramping up his rehab here. And then he had the crazy period where he went to Arizona and took like 10,000 pitches or something in a matter of a weekend or something just to get up to game speed. I don't think Shohei can obviously throw 10,000 pitches or something to get ready for this, but in short spurts, and he's been doing his rehab and everything, so I'm sure he'll be ready to go.
Yeah, and I don't know that Shohei is going to allow the Dodgers to put him in if he's not ready. Like this is a man that signed a 10-year deal for $700 million. That like his intention and his goal is to stay a two-way player for his career. I would assume is like his ultimate goal. And to do that, you don't want to rush it to try and pitch in the World Series, potentially hurt yourself to where you can't finish the World Series if that's the case, and reduce your ability to compete and help the team in years to come. So, like, it would be everybody would have to sign off as yes, I'm 100% ready. If there's, it's kind of like when launching a rocket where they do go no go, and every single person in the room gets to say go or no go. And if there's a single no go, does not matter who it is. It could be the janitor that says there's something in the way that is going to combust and cause something to do whatever. Like, it's a no go. And so Shohei is kind of like launching a SpaceX rocket.
Yeah, and I was going to say the Dodgers have every incentive to also keep. They're not. He's not a 1 year rental. They're not just trying to
Yeah.
get what they can out of him. They literally got him for 9 more years here.
Yeah. They're not going to use him in every single game like the Cubs did Aroldis Chapman and just
Yeah,
burn him out.
exactly.
So
You just made me think though about Shohei's goals. You've probably seen this, but he wrote his life goals down when he was in high school or something, and he had it year by year, like join MLB team, master English, and reach AAA. And some of the stuff that he had on here was awesome, like throwing a no hitter and 25 wins, throw a second no hitter, win second World Series, win third World Series, and stats drop. Start to think about retirement. That's at age 38. Age 39, decide to retire at end of next season. Age 40, throw no hitter in very last game. Age 41, return to Japan. And age 42, introduce the American system to Japan. So he's got some
Jesus.
goals. I'm sure that's been updated as the years have gone by. But
I mean, I'm guessing the number of World Series is there's a chance that he's reduced that by one because of how much time he spent in Anaheim. But he's on a team that's setting him up to win all those. So we'll
yeah, what a
see.
slacker. He was supposed to win the World Series at age 26. I mean, what's the guy even doing?
I mean, 46-26 that year. He did everything he
Yeah.
could, but even he can't take the Angels to the promised land on his own.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, you mentioned Glass now being out, and that's obviously a huge blow because he had been great when he pitched this year. And they essentially lost their best starting pitcher. Clayton Kershaw is on the IL right now with the toe injury. And like you mentioned, they're just piecing together this staff. They have, young guys that are showing promise, but I'm not
so
confident in this group at all.
so Landon Knack came up in like May, right?
He's been up and down.
Okay, but he's not been up the whole year, and he didn't start the year in the majors. Yoshinobu Yamamoto just came off the 60-day IL on September 10th, right?
Yep. Yep.
Walker Bueller did not. Has he been there the whole year? He's
No,
been injured,
he's
right?
he's returning from his second Tommy John, and he's been really not himself since he's returned.
Bobby Miller.
Bobby Miller missed a huge chunk of the season, and he's been terrible when he's pitched all year.
And Jack Flaherty was a trade deadline acquisition. So right now,
And he's been very good.
he has been very good. But my point being, there is not a single starter in this rotation who has been there the entire season. There's not a
Yep.
single starter they've been able to rely on and say, okay, we're really struggling to keep guys on. We got to hand the ball to you every 5 days. I mean, Jack's been able to do that since the deadline, but obviously he couldn't do that when he was with the Tigers or the Dodgers. So, like, this is a situation where it's going to be tough. Like, what are we looking at for guys coming back? Like, we have Glass now with elbow tendonitis just went on the 15-day. Tony Gonsolin has been out over a year now with Tommy John. I'm doubting he's gonna play this year.
I don't think he's coming back.
Clayton Kershaw, 15-day IL. Today was day 15. Dustin May, 60-day IL. Been out since July of 23. He's not coming back this year, right?
Nope, he is not.
River Ryan just had Tommy John in August. Not coming back this year. Emmett Sheehan had Tommy John in May. He's not coming back this year. Gavin Stone, 15-day IL. Today's day 14. No, today's day 15 for him. It's day 16 for Kershaw. So
I kind of forgot about Stone, yeah, because he'd actually been pretty good for them this year.
Yeah. So Kershaw and Gavin Stone are the only two guys who really might be coming back. And they'll be back. It's the question is the shoulder inflammation for Gavin Stone going to be somewhat debilitating for the rest of the year? Things like that. So, and then in the minors, like, do they have anybody that's ready if they need to call someone up? Like the guys that they've got on the 40-man, Nick Frasso and Kyle Hurt are both on the IL. Justin Robleski and Ben Asparius. I was going to say capricious. It's like, that's not right. Asparius. So what do the Dodgers do?
They just have to use the guys they have. There's no other options. You cannot add players from outside the organization to pitch in the postseason at this point in the season. So it is what it is. There's no improvement to be found other than from internal.
So obviously this is the Dodgers team that can 100% rely on their offense to lead them. Offense is not going to win you every single game on its own, but this is an offense that has scored 733 runs. Not the most in the majors, actually not even close to the most in the majors, but that's a significant amount of run scoring. Let's see. They also have been building a bullpen that has some really good pieces. So is it possible that they're going to be able to go basically the last 2 weeks of the year and the postseason with really Jack, and if Yamamoto gets stretched out, because he's not stretched out right now, being your bulk innings eaters, and then turning it over in maybe the 5th inning every day to Kopech, Trinan, Daniel Hudson, Evan Phillips, who was the best reliever in baseball other than Emmanuel Clase for like 2 years now. This year, not so much, but Alex Vesia, Brusdar Graterol, Ryan Brazier, Brent Honeywell, and Michael Grove. Like, that's a good bullpen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like Kopech has kind of solidified himself as the closer, and he's helped the whole bullpen seems to make more sense to me now. And the postseason schedule kind of works to the Dodgers' favor because they can rely way more heavily on the bullpen than you would in a regular season. So it's all about just picking the pockets that the bulk guys, I say in quotes, like you're not expecting Landon Knack to pitch more than like 4 or 5 innings in a postseason start. You probably don't even want him starting a game, but you got to do it. Like there's no choice.
Yeah. The Dodgers have an 83% chance to clinch a first round bye. And if they clinch that first round bye, that will be huge. Like skipping that first round, getting a little bit more time for rest for some of these guys that have been beaten up throughout the year. I do think the Dodgers are kind of they're in the best situation they could be for being in such a bad situation with their rotation.
I just had a thought though. I feel like Kershaw is the key guy here because I feel pretty okay about Jack Flaherty and Yamamoto being solid starters for the postseason. Those
Yeah.
guys, I'm good on counting on them. I feel like you need the third guy to make it to be more comfortable. You want like a third starter so the bullpen's not pitching like 6 innings for every game. If Kershaw can come back and be the guy that pitches 5 innings in the postseason start, that's going to be massive.
Well, so I would even be comfortable at this point saying that Gavin Stone's that number three.
Yeah, I don't know if
Like
he's coming back though. I don't know what the injury is. You said shoulder.
shoulder inflammation.
Yeah, I have no clue if he's coming back or what.
But if he does, and he's able to pitch around what he's done this year, he's not the biggest strikeout guy, but he has been able to pitch to the tune of a 3.53 ERA with a 4.0 FIP. So, like, he's been a very solid starter for 140 innings, which Clayton Kershaw, unfortunately, at this point in his career, that innings number is his biggest flaw. Is it's just not there. He's pitched 30 innings this year. He pitched 130 the year before, 125 the year before, 120 the year before that. So, like,
Yeah, but the quantity of innings, why does that matter? If we're just talking about these postseason innings.
well, it doesn't necessarily matter. But my point is being like, he's not had much time to pitch this year, not much time to kind of fine tune himself. He's coming off another injury. Like, at some point in his career, that is going to be a negative. It might not be now. Like, he's one of the greatest pitchers of all time. I feel pretty confident in saying that. I wouldn't say top five, maybe, but
I
he's
might I might say he's top 5 all time.
he's definitely top five lefties of all time.
Yeah.
That's not a question. But yeah, it's one of those that I feel more comfortable assuming that Gavin Stone is going to come back and be okay than I do assuming that Kershaw, who has been fighting tooth and nail just to make it through the season, is going to come back and be okay. So,
Yeah. Fair enough.
all right, probably time we talk about someone that's not the Doyers.
All right.
So, can we all agree that Aaron Judge is washed?
Totally.
Completely washed.
What's this guy even doing?
16 games without a home run. And not just that, in that 16 games, 71 plate appearances, 21 times he struck out. He walked 13 times, 3 of those being intentional. He has 12 hits for a 207 batting average over that 16 game span. Aaron Judge is washed, and Bobby Witt Jr. is the MVP. And that is what I would say if we were in an alternate universe.
It is wild that he had, such a prolonged, I would call that kind of a prolonged slump. I mean, it's really not,
Well,
but
it's the longest of his career.
for the home runs but he had banked up such a lead in that MVP race that it didn't really matter. I feel like
Yeah.
it
Like,
didn't put a it didn't drop his chances in any way.
yeah,
He was
he,
basically a lock.
he's still
He still
projected for
is.
56 home runs. Since this 16 game span ended, he has 2 home runs in 3 days. Like, maybe he just needed a little bit of time, and now he's going to ramp back up for the postseason, and him and Soto are going to power the Yankees into the ALCS.
I would love to see that. That would be pretty cool. I will say that um, didn't Judge have a tough time in September 2022 as he was going for the 60 home runs? He had that stretch
He
there
did,
where he
yeah.
was not hitting a lot of home
It's
runs. He didn't have a
61.
16 game.
Number
Yeah,
61 took him so long to get.
I
And
feel like it took him like a couple weeks.
it took him a week and a half at least. Like, he
Yeah.
was pushing to hit 61, and that really did not work out in his favor. Like, here, let me 22. So it was no more than a week. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. So there was a full week where he went 2 for 5, 0 for 5, 0 for 4, 0 for 4. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. 2 for 5, 0 for 5, 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 1 for 3, 1 for 5, 0 for 5, and then he hit number 61. Number 61. And then it was another 5 days before he hit number 62 on the final day of the season. So he really, really struggled there at the end of 2022. He just barely got his 62nd homer on the final day of the season in the second day of a doubleheader, or the second game of a doubleheader. So, like, yeah, like this isn't new. It's happened before.
Yeah.
But
Well,
this is also a man that
it's
I'm
a
never going to
slump that
root
gets
against.
it gets magnified because it's Judge and he's having a crazy season.
Yeah.
It's really not a big deal, and I don't doesn't much matter to me that he had a couple bad weeks or
I
whatever.
still think he's washed.
He's washed.
He's washed. All right. Tell me about the other New York team, the New York Mets.
Yeah. The Mets have been just hard charging here for the last several months, really. But in the last month or so, I mean, they've just turned it up another level, and they've got themselves basically neck and neck with the Braves as they battle it out for wild card number 3 in the National League. And to me, what I wanted to talk about is just who do you give the edge to, the Mets or the Braves? I feel like the Mets are the team that has more going for them right now. They have Lindor having a borderline, like he's not going to win the MVP, but he's going to be up there in the top 5 in voting. They've got younger players coming through like Mark Vientos, and then starting pitching has been a major strength for them, despite them not having big name starters. Guys like Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, Jose Quintana, all these like older veteran type guys have had great seasons. I don't know if that's just they're pitching in a good ballpark or the Mets have figured something out with their pitching, but overall, this team just kind of looks like a really solid team. They look like a playoff team to me.
So I agree with you. I think the Mets have the advantage. And I think, like, I'm going to talk about this more from the Braves side. Like, the Braves this year they're not a bad team. Don't get me wrong. They are 81 and 67. They've secured a 500 record at least this year. They're in second place in the division. They are currently half a game ahead of the Mets, although they're actively playing the Dodgers. So by the end of the night, they could either be tied or a game ahead. But the Braves have really struggled to get the team going. Like, they've got about 3 players that I would say have been really good this year, and everyone else has just been kind of trading bits and pieces of time of being
Who are the
productive.
three
Like
players you would say have been really good?
Marcell Ozuna has been
Definitely.
their best hitter by far.
Yep.
157 WRC plus, a 305 average, 37 home runs in 148 games. Marcell Ozuna, if Shohei and Lindor didn't exist, would be the front runner for the MVP. In the
I feel like
sorry, Ketel Marte, but he's top five. He's gonna be top five probably, or pretty close. The other two guys that I would say have been really good are one, a resurgent Chris Sale is probably in the Cy Young conversation in the
I
NL, isn't
think
he?
he's the leader. He's the
I
leader for Cy
Yeah,
Young.
I
Yeah.
think so too. 28 starts, 172 innings with a 235 ERA and a 202 fielding independent pitching
He's been
for
insane.
6.4 WAR. This is a Chris Sale that we thought was basically done. He was washed. It was hurt all the time. And then the other guy that I want to give a little bit of love to, Ronaldo Lopez. Ronaldo Lopez has not been a starter until his age 30 season this year.
Hey, that's not true. He started full seasons for the White Sox,
Did
like
he?
200 plus inning seasons. Yeah, he just hasn't been a starter for years now because they
Okay,
moved him to
then
the bullpen.
that's
Yeah.
sorry. He hasn't started in a long time.
Yes.
But 24 starts, 130 innings, a 203 ERA, a 3.08 FIP. He's been very, very solid. But the rest of the rotation, like, has either been hurt. Like Max Fried's the only other guy who's really been there most of the year.
He's been hurt too.
That's why I said most of the year. Like he's made 26 starts. Like he's definitely been there most of the year. But he's also not been himself. He's not striking out all that many guys. He's got a 22% K rate. He's limited the home run a lot. Like he's 0.76 homers per nine. But his ERA is mid 3.5s. That's not bad, but it's not the dominant Max Fried that we've seen in the past. And after that, I don't even know who Spencer Schwellenbach is, to be completely honest
serious?
with you. Yeah.
He's awesome.
He might be, like, his numbers look decent, but I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, he's been really solid, and he's been a major help to their rotation. I'm not even so worried about the rotation. I wanted to just mention that you can't really tell the story of the 24 Braves without talking about how they've just been crushed by injuries. Probably in a
Ronald tearing his
we-
ACL in game 49 of the season.
yeah, I mean the Dodgers obviously have been hit in their pitching staff, but the top end talent that the Braves have lost this year, they've lost Spencer Strider, maybe the best pitcher in the league, Ronald Acuna, maybe the best player in the league. Uh, they've also lost Austin Riley
For
with a broken
30
hand.
for 30 something games. They lost Ozzy Albies for about 70 games or 60 games.
Yeah, and now Reynaldo Lopez is injured as well, and it's the second time now he's gone on the IL in the last month, so it's very likely that he might be done for the season. This offense just doesn't seem like it's when you lose your three best, like maybe not Matt Olson. Like Matt Olson's having a solid year, but it's not the year that he had last year where he hit 50 plus homers, and then you lose three of your other big bats.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a very pedestrian season for Matt Olson. If you look at his career, he's batting, what is it, 238 with 25 home runs. Like that's very pedestrian for Matt Olson. Like, it's not bad.
Yeah. I think the whole lineup you would say is having a pedestrian season, other than Ozuna, and that's not gonna fly. I would take the Mets lineup straight up against them right now.
So they only have 4 players with a WRC plus above 100 and have played at least 60 games.
Yeah. You know how we sometimes look at those percentile projections for a team?
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see where the Braves season falls, because I feel like it's one of the most unlucky seasons you can imagine.
It definitely is. Like, that's why I tried to start this with, like, this is a good team.
Yeah, they're still good despite
Yeah, I mean
everything
they're
possibly going wrong, they're still right there in the hunt for the postseason.
yeah, and like yeah, they're not really in it in the division, and there's only a couple games before the Phillies clinch. But also, this is a Phillies team that has had everything go right. This is a Phillies team that has seen Kyle Schwarber become a completely different player, which we talked about him a couple weeks ago. But this is like the best version of Kyle Schwarber we've seen with power and average.
I
And
thought we debunked that though.
well,
He was just getting good fortune.
yes, okay, yeah, you're correct. But
But yeah, no, like you're saying, as opposed to the Braves who have had all this bad luck, the Phillies are kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum where they're seeing fortune happen to them, good fortune.
well, and then the team that is facing off against the Braves for this last spot in the Mets, they started out the season with probably some of the worst luck you could possibly have. They lost their young catcher basically week one, maybe a little bit later than that, but it was early in the season and he was out for an extended period of time. And the team really, really struggled since he came back. Like him, some of their pitching staff has started to improve a bit here. Like David Peterson's got a sub-3 ERA. Minaya and Severino have been very solid. Tyler Megill is probably the worst of their starters, and he's not been bad. But they're like Francisco Lindor, Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez since he came back. Like they've been able to help bolster this offense to the point where they're now able to go out and win all these games, and everything has been improving for them luck wise. Whereas the Braves keep getting hit after hit after hit, and then you like see Charlie Morton kind of start to fall off the cliff of age, and
Yeah.
it just
I mean,
they
this is
feel like they're in
another
different
example.
directions right now.
The Braves. Braves lose what's his name? Albies to an injury. So they bring in Whit Merrifield to play second base. And what happens to Whit Merrifield? He gets hurt too. So they're like it's just one guy after another. Um anyways, I'm looking forward to next week. The last week of the season, I believe the early part of the week, the Mets and the Braves have a 3-game series. And that's most likely going to be what is going to decide this, right? It
Yeah,
could. That's going to be huge.
yeah. Um, let's go ahead and move on to the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah.
So we trashed them a little bit last week.
Yeah, we did. We said like, "Oh, we're not that impressed by their season. They seem like they're not there yet." But here we are, and they're what 2.5 games out of the wild card right now.
Yep, with a
They're right
77
there
and
in it.
73 record, better than most teams in the NL Central, and they're in
A,
fourth place.
a good place to start would be Friday, where they took a perfect game into the 6th or 7th inning, and they did it with an opener, and they followed. The follower was a guy by the name of Brant Herter, who I know nothing about, but this guy's pitching like 6, 7 innings of no hit or perfect baseball against the Orioles, no less. Um, the Let's remember that the Tigers sold off. We talked about Jack Flaherty. He was their best pitcher in the first half. They sold him off and they started playing better somehow. How are they doing this with this pitching staff? It's not
That
good.
so I'm trying to find a game log here for a very specific player because my guess would have been looking at the depth chart here with Tarek Skubal, who is the Cy Young. I don't think there's a question. I think he is going to be a unanimous Cy Young in the AL.
Who would be like another candidate there just as an
I don't
aside?
even know. Like
I was thinking like Cole Reagans, maybe like
Lugo's gonna get
Logan
some
Gilbert.
votes, probably. Gilbert,
Yeah,
yeah.
Hugo Gilbert. Yep.
But I don't think anyone's been nearly as dominant, and I don't think like you could make some arguments that some guys are really good, but I don't know that you could say anyone else is the best in the league. Like
I
Tarek
just don't want
Skubal,
to. Do we miss a guy, like one guy that's having an awesome season? No, I mean
Maybe.
by wins above replacement, the top three in the AL are Skubal, Reagans, and Lugo.
Yeah. So, but so they got Scooble. Every 5 days, they've got a dominant starter on the mound. Cater Montero has.
We saw that guy actually. He
We
was
did. We
terrible.
saw him in his second
Yeah,
start of his career, I think.
yeah. I thought he was
Um,
terrible, but like apparently he's good.
yeah. But looking at the depth chart, Casey Mize came back this year from his injury finally. And my thought would have been he's the reason that this team has been able to get things back on track because Casey Mize is finally breaking out. Well, not really. He was okay before he got injured. Like he had a couple games where he was really good. 5 innings, no runs given up. I don't know, like 4 innings, 2 runs, 6 innings, 1 run, but then got hurt, came back. He's had 3 starts and they've not been good. And he missed the entirety of July and only came back on August 30th. So Casey Mize isn't the answer. What about Ty Madden? Who's this dude? He any
He was
good?
a first round pick. He was a first round pick a few years ago. So
Was he?
yeah,
Has he been pitching well? He's not pitched much.
yeah,
He's started one
17
game,
innings. Yeah,
17 innings. And he's been good in his 17 innings in one start, but clearly he's not the reason that this team has been able to keep going. I think a lot of it lies on the offense.
the offense actually started producing recently, and I see many reasons why this is actually happening. So one, Parker Meadows came back from the minors, and he's been playing well. Kerry Carpenter came off the IL. He's I think he's a really good player. He's a good hitter. Riley Green continues to be their star. Torkelson has come back from the minors, and then Trey Sweeney actually is notable here because he's now their everyday shortstop with Baez uh, being out for the season with an injury, and that's like half the lineup that's turned over here in the last month, and they're getting way better results. Look how many lefties they
You're
have in their
still
lineup.
getting very solid production at second base from Colt Keith, who has been, I think, under talked about this year. Like the dude has had a very solid rookie season. And then you have Matt Vierling, who's broken out this year. Like, so you've got some guys who have been there the whole year that have been kind of holding things up. Riley Green switched his bat to a new bat model and then immediately hit 2 home runs. So, like, seeing him kind of come out of a slump, that's huge. And then just some of these other guys that are just coming in and starting to produce is huge. So I
So
guess
they're tied with the Mariners for the two teams that are uh, on the outskirts right now, but they're chasing the Twins. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see who gets that last spot.
yeah. So I kind of wish that just because of how fun it would be, the Orioles were terrible and that the Tigers, Twins, and Royals could all make it in as wild cards with the Guardians or some form of those 4 teams, and then you also have this White Sox team. That'd be funny. 4 playoff teams and the worst team in history.
And four teams from that division also.
Yeah,
That the one that people just constantly are
saying
you
is the
know
worst division in the league.
yeah. Well,
It's
I
got
feel
to
like the
be
White
the
Sox plays into that, right? Because most likely these divisional teams have played them a lot and beat them
oh
a lot.
yeah, yeah. Like when you've only got 33 wins,
35 down, 2 game winning streak, baby.
35. Oh, let's go.
Yeah, they won the last two against the A's.
They're not going to win many more. They were 81 games below 500 not too long ago. It's
Yeah.
impressively bad. That's only happened 4 other times in history, and they were very, 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 very long ago. 3 of them were in the 1800s. Actually, sorry, that was for 80 games under which they still are. 81 games, I think the only other time was the 1899 Cleveland Spiders. I think that's what it was. Sorry. So, yeah, it probably helps to play them a lot. They've only won one game at home in the last 28 home games.
Yikes.
They've only won 3 games in the second half. Or 5. I
That's
think it
not
was
true.
5.
Yeah.
It's a very small number of games in the second half.
Yeah.
But all right, so 2 more things on the agenda, and then we will leave you to your day. Garrett Cole doesn't like facing Rafael Devers. To be fair, I don't think most people like facing Rafael Devers. I think that's a very tough assignment. But Rafael Devers has a career 350 average against him. He's got 8 home runs, which is the most Garrett Cole has given up to any individual player in his 12-year career. So Rafi Devers is the Lex Luthor to Garrett Cole's Superman. So here this week, Garrett Cole faced off against the Boston Red Sox, and in the first inning, hit Rafi Devers on the elbow pad. Alex Cora seems to think it was intentional. It may or may not have been. I don't know. Seems kind of weird to just hit somebody in the
Okay.
first inning.
I was watching this game. It was not intentional because Garrett Cole had terrible command in this game. He hit like 3 or 4 guys and he walked some too.
Yeah, I know he hit Tyler O'Neill later in the game and a couple other
Yeah.
guys. Yeah. So, but then in the 4th inning, Devers comes up. There's 1 out, nobody on. So Garrett Cole looks straight at the ump and just goes
4 fingers.
and puts up the 4 fingers for an intentional walk, which astounded Rafi Devers. It doesn't really seem to make sense.
Do you know what the last year of actually happening to throw the intentional pitches
I
was?
really hoped you were going to ask me the last time that a Red Sox was intentionally walked with the bases empty, and I was going to tell you 2016. You asked me a question I wasn't prepared for.
That's why it's a pop quiz.
2019.
2016, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's been that long?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right. But yeah, so Garrett Cole intentionally, or not intentionally, hit him with the pitch in the first inning, intentionally walked him in the 4th with nobody on, and then everything went to hell, and a 1-0 lead turned into a 3-0 deficit. Or sorry, 3-1 deficit. He ended up coming out after 4 1/3 innings, and really just did not have a very good day. It was a very weird situation. And then Alex Cora later, Aaron Judge got hit by a pitch, and Alex Cora basically confirmed it was intentional. So,
I mean, yeah, it was weird. The weird part was Cole just being so off his game because I would venture to guess he hasn't had many worse home starts as a Yankee. That was like a weird one just to see him like coming out of the game in the 4th, 5th inning, and he just didn't have it. That's concerning because he's supposed to be the guy for the Yankees.
yeah, this has definitely not been his year. So,
No.
But I imagine he'll figure it out at some point next year. So,
I would think so, yeah.
All right, now I need you to learn me a few things. You ready for this? I would like to know about the first major league player of Indian descent and how his debut went.
Yeah, so Kumar Rocker made his debut on, I think, Wednesday or Thursday of this week, and he looked great actually in the start. He only pitched 4 innings, but he was able to rack up 7 strikeouts, and he's really got some special off speed pitch to go along with his really hard fastball. So really promising sign for a guy that like had very little experience going through the minor leagues, barely pitched at
And
AAA, and they've just pushed him right up to the majors because he seemed like he was ready. He's picking like he showed this in the AAA level too. That's why he probably got the call.
yeah, he had 13 whiffs on his sweeper, I believe, in that start. And this is
Yeah,
a guy who has had a very, very strange path to the majors after graduating from Vandy in 2021, 2020. I think it was the
was it
2020
2020
draft.
when he got drafted by the Mets?
He got drafted by the Mets in the top 10, I think with the 10th pick, right?
That sounds right. Yep.
And then I didn't end up signing. Like the Mets basically refused to sign him because of an injury that they said wasn't they weren't informed about, even though it sounds like they were, but I don't know. And then he ended up getting drafted again the next year by Rangers, who had picked his teammate the year before in Jack Leiter. So him and Jack were teammates at Vandy and then debut in this. Jack debuted this year, end of last year.
I feel like he had to start last year game or something.
Okay,
Maybe he
but
didn't. Maybe it was early this year.
yeah, so but they basically come up to the majors in the same season now, and Kumar looks like he might be the
Better one
better of the two.
I think. Yeah, I was gonna
So
say because Jack seems like he's also got crazy talent. He just hasn't quite put it together.
when his
This,
thing is control, isn't it?
yeah, he seems like he has a lot worse control than Rocker, who seems a little bit more major league ready right now. I do like that they are still kind of giving these guys chances here, and that they're actually kind of spoiling. They're still playing out to the end of the season, and it's impacting the playoff race. They've got games against the Mariners this weekend, and they brought Jacob DeGrom back as well. Get a couple starts here at the end of the year, and he pretty much looked like DeGrom in his first start back, where he pitched about 4 innings.
Struck out everyone,
Had
probably.
struck out everyone, yeah. So a little bit of new, a little bit of old, and unfortunately, this Rangers rotation didn't quite come together earlier in the year to save them. Obviously, they had other issues with their offense, but next year they really have most of these guys coming back. Like Degrom would have be coming off like a normal offseason. You got Rocker and Leiter. You got Evaldi. I don't think Max Scherzer is going to be back, but
Yeah.
it's going to
Three
be.
3 2/3 innings with 4 Ks for DeGrom. So
He's getting back into shape.
a little low on the Ks per 9. Usually
Definitely,
somewhere
yeah.
around 14.
Yep.
So he should have been at about 6 strikeouts in those 3 2/3 innings.
We'll give him some grace and see what he does next time out.
But he didn't walk anybody, and that's actually huge.
He never walks anyone.
Well, I know, but like in your first start of the season in
Yeah.
mid-September, that's a good sign.
Yep. Definitely.
So cool. Well, I believe that is all we have for you guys today. A little bit of a long episode, a little bit of a grab bag. So I really appreciate you sticking around with us. We will see you back here next week, and have a great rest of your day. If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Getaway Day Pod. If you enjoy card collecting, check out our sister YouTube channel at Getaway Day Cards.